Hi everyone, today is application of linear equations video for you, and notice that I have the same list over here as far as solving the equation, but I've added this list over here because usually when you're talking about applications, you're talking about solving a word problem, all right, or a situation type problem. Okay, and we want to make sure that we do these things as well whenever we do a word problem or a situation type problem. Okay, so let's read this first example and see what we can do here. It says Marvin paid an entrance fee of $5 plus an additional $1.25 per game. All right, and I'm going to underline this per game because a lot of times in word problems in math, you get that kind of terminology. You get that per game or per mile, and usually what that means is you're going to multiply the number that comes before it by your variable, what you don't know. So let's keep going. So he paid $1.25 per game at a local arcade. Altogether, he spent $26.25. Write and solve an equation to determine how many games Marvin played. Okay, so that is what I'm looking for right here. Alright, that is what I'm trying to find out, how many games Marvin played. Alright, so first thing, before I write an equation, I'm going to define my variable. I'm going to say let x equal how many games Marvin played. Marvin played. Alright, so that is this step right here. Okay, so I did that step. Alright, so that's my definition of variables, and lots of people like to skip that, but we really can't. We've got to tell the person reading the problem what it is I'm looking for. Alright, so now I've got an create an equation. Alright, and I'm going to go up to this first sentence here, and I'm just going to, go as it's read, I'm going to create my equation. So he paid an entrance fee of $5. Alright, well that's something he has to pay. So I've used that, plus, I'm gonna add, so I'm gonna put my plus sign down there. So I've used that. An additional fee of $1.25 per game. All right, so $1.25 per game for every game. So I'm gonna multiply that by how many games he played. All right, at a local arcade. Okay, so there's one part of my equation. Altogether, that means I would add these things. Well, look, I've already added them together. Altogether, he spent $26.25. Okay? So there, I used that part of the writing as well. And you can see I used everything. So I've created my equation. Now I just need to solve my equation. That's where we go back to our list up here. Alright, so no distribution. There's no like terms to combine. All my variables are on one side. So really, boom, 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 those are done. I just have to do my algebra. Okay, so I'm going to take away 5 from both sides of the equation. Alright, and remember, the decimal gets lined up when you subtract numbers like this. So that goes away over there. I get $1.25x, comes straight down. I bring my equal sign down. And when I subtract these, I get 21.25. Okay, and to finish up here, divide by $1.25. Divide by $1.25. And they cancel over here. I get x. And if I'm going to divide those, let's bring up the calculator here. And I'll move that out of the way a little bit. So we'll go 21.25. And I'll divide by $1.25. Alright, oh nice, comes out to be 17. Alright, so I've done my solve the equation step, and I want to answer the question. So just come right up back up here where you define the variables, and it says how many games did he play? Well, that equals 17. All I did was take this number and put it right up there. So I've done all 4 of my steps there. Okay, so whenever you do a word problem, alright, make sure this is listed on your note packet, and I just went right down the line here and did all 4 parts. Okay, so the questions that you have tomorrow on the assignment will be similar to this one, Or it could be similar to this next one here. So let's turn this one off and try the next one. Here's exercise number 2. Now this one's a little different. It's still a word problem, so we need to define our variables and create an equation and then solve it and then answer the question. So let's take a look at this one. The sum, so I know I'm going to be adding something, the sum of 4 consecutive numbers. Now remember, we've talked about consecutive numbers before. Consecutive numbers are simply numbers that go in some sort of order. Alright, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Those would be consecutive numbers. Now if I call the first one x, well the next one, in terms of x, is x plus 1, because 1 plus 1 is 2. The next one, again in terms of x, is x plus 2. Because 1, if x is 1, 1 plus 2 is going to give me the 3. The next one is simply x plus 3. Alright, so I'm going to start by defining my variables. We want 4 consecutive numbers. So the first one is going to be called x. I'm going to say the first one is the first integer, or the first number. Let's be consistent with what's in the problem. The first number. Okay, the second one is x plus 1. That's going to be the second number. The third one, of course, is x plus 2. And the fourth one is x plus 3. Alright, so that's my defining of my variables here. And now I want to create an equation. Well, if I create an equation out of this sentence up here, it says I'm going to take a sum. So I'm going to be adding the first 4 numbers. So I'm just going to take these 4 items here and I'm going to add them. When I write them originally, I'm going to put them in parentheses. Alright, so you see the separation of each one of these terms. Okay, and they're going to add up to negative 26. So that's going to equal negative 26. Alright, so you can see all I did was copy this and this and this and this, and I added them together. Okay, so now let's go to my list here. Do I have any distribution to do? Well, I don't have any of that. Well, now I can combine like terms. Alright, and if they're simply adding these, I can drop all those parentheses right out. Okay, it can be just simply this without the parentheses. Alright, and when I go to combine like terms, all of these x's are on the left side. So 1 and 1x and 1x and 1x and 1x. That's going to give me 4x. And then I have the numbers 1 and 2 and 3. So when I add those together, I'm going to get 6. And the other side of the equation is just the same. So I've combined all my like terms. Now the next thing is to move all the variables to one side. Well, those are already there. So I just have to solve for x. Alright, so this big problem that looks pretty messy, really in 2 steps, not even 2 steps, all I did here was drop out the parentheses, really boils down to this equation right here, which is a pretty easy one to solve. I'm going to take away 6. So 4x equals negative 32, and then divide by 4, and x equals negative 8. Alright, be careful of your negatives there. Negative divided by positive is negative 8. Alright, so I've done my algebra. And remember, this is a word problem, so I want to answer the question. So I just simply take this, and I go back up to where I define the variables, and I say, well, x equals negative 8. If I want to find this one, it's x plus 1. Well, negative 8. If I plug in a negative 8 for x, negative 8 plus 1 is negative 7. And if I plug in an x here, negative 8 plus 2 is negative 6. And negative 8 plus 3 is negative 5. And you see those are consecutive numbers. Negative 8, negative 7, negative 6, negative 5. So these are my answers for my 4 consecutive numbers. Okay? And we may have problems like that, or we may have problems that say consecutive even numbers. Alright, well, consecutive even numbers, that's pretty easy. They're 2 away, because if the first one is 1, well, that wouldn't be an even. The first one is 2, sorry. The next one would be 4. The next one would be 6. Well, if the first one is x, Well, this one would be simply x plus 2. And this one would be x plus 4. Alright, and so on and so on. Alright, I may ask a question that says consecutive odd numbers. Well, again, if you write down the example, well, if this one's x, well, how many do I add to get to the next one? I add 2. So that's also x plus 2. And that's also x plus 4. So we may have some problems that say consecutive even or consecutive odd, and that's how you define your variables, okay? So you might want to jot those down on your note packet, and then you have it right there and do the assignment tomorrow. So that's really it for today, and hopefully that went well for you. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow.